The atmosphere aboard the Unity was heavy with tension as Captain Alex Kerr paced the dimly lit chamber. For 2 centuries, humanity had been locked in an unyielding war with the Valtrax, a race renowned for their technological prowess and strategic cunning. Now, they stood at a crossroads, a chance for peace or another descent into despair. As he reached the oversized table at the center, delegates from both sides were already engaged in hushed, heated conversations. The diplomatic air felt thick, brimming with distrust. The humans, clad in Earth's sleek uniforms, exchanged wary glances with their Valtrax counterparts, whose multifaceted eyes shimmered with an enigmatic combination of curiosity and threat. Alex turned to his right, where Lieutenant Sarah Chong stood, arms crossed and brow furrowed. "This negotiation feels more like a standoff," she muttered, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's the weight of history. 200 years of conflict isn't easy to shake off," Alex replied, trying to keep his own anxiety at bay. "But we can't afford to fail. If we do, we might lose everything." Sarah looked grim. "What's your plan?" "I'm thinking outside the box," Alex said, his voice rising slightly. "Or, more accurately, outside a conventional approach. We need something they don't expect." Sarah's curiosity was piqued. "Like what? A dance-off?" "Not quite," he grinned, appreciating her jest even amid the grim surroundings. "How about humor? You're serious?" She raised an eyebrow. "You think a joke is going to break the ice?" "Sometimes humor can disarm even the toughest of barriers." He took a deep breath and leaned closer. "I just need to find the right moment." Just then, Vela, the Valtrax ambassador, entered the room. Her iridescent scales caught the dim lights as she moved, creating a mesmerizing display of colors. The delegates immediately fell silent, their focus shifting to her. Alex straightened and looked at her, captivated. Vela's presence was magnetic, despite the tension hanging in the air. "Greetings, esteemed human delegates," she said, her voice smooth and melodic. "We have much to discuss." "Indeed, we do," Alex said, stepping forward. "And if we are to find a resolution, it requires not just words but understanding." She tilted her head slightly, intrigued yet skeptical. "Understanding requires context." "What context can a joke provide?" "More than you might think." Alex gestured to the table, inviting her to take a seat. "It's a bridge that allows us to see the other side in a lighthearted manner." Vela took a seat at the table, her gaze steady and assessing. "I am listening." "Okay," Alex began, gathering his thoughts. "Let me give it a shot. Why did the human cross the galaxy?" A few of the Valtrax delegates exchanged confused glances, while Sarah shook her head, sensing the delicate nature of the moment. "To get to the other side," Alex finished, a shrug in his shoulders as he smiled. Silence enveloped the room for a moment that felt stretched and fraught with anxiety. Then, surprisingly, Vela burst into laughter, pure and unfiltered. The sound broke the tension like a sudden gust of wind. The Valtrax delegates were taken aback, their solemnity challenged by her unexpected reaction. "That was unexpected." Vela recomposed herself, wiping tears of laughter from her eyes. "Humor is intricate, especially now." "It's a start, isn't it?" Alex replied, his spirits lifting. Sarah leaned in, joining the open conversation. "Very few can say they made Vela laugh. This might just be the breakthrough we need." The Valtrax ambassador regarded Sarah with a tilted head. "Laughter has a unique way of bridging gaps. Perhaps you humans are more than just war machines." "Funny, right?" Alex added, still riding the wave of Vela's laughter. "We do have layers like onions." "Or Valtrax," Vela countered, her eyes glimmering as they locked onto his. "More layers than I personally expected in a human, I must admit." "Careful, or I might get a complex," he joked. As delegates began discussing again, Alex leaned toward Sarah, whispering, "We just need to keep the momentum." "Yeah, keep it funny." "That actually might lighten the whole negotiation," Sarah chuckled, then glanced nervously at Vela. Vela was still smiling, pleasure flickering in her expression. "If there's more humor to share, I am willing to listen." Alex recognized an opportunity, time to step further out of the box. "All right, here's another one. What did the Valtrax say to the human at the bar?" "Enlighten me," Vela replied with an intrigued smile. "I can see your point, but let's find common ground." He finished the joke with a flourish, arms wide as if presenting a grand revelation. To his utter delight, the laughter came more quickly this time, not just from Vela but from several Valtrax delegates who exchanged shy, amused glances as the ice began to melt. "I appreciate your creativity, Captain Kerr," Vela said, her laughter subsiding, "but negotiations require more than humor and jest." "Absolutely," he agreed, grateful that she saw the merit in his approach. "But sometimes levity is necessary to calm the currents of strife. It's a way of reminding us that we're more alike than different." "Perhaps," Vela nodded, her tone shifting. but we still bear scars of the past. True, Alex replied, sincere now. But we can't let history dictate our future. We must choose a different path. There was a moment of reflection in Vela's gaze, a flickering acknowledgement of the truth spoken. The tension in the room lessened, and even the other delegates started murmuring amongst themselves, some exchanging cautious smiles. A new dynamic was emerging, and as the discussion progressed, the conversation began to shift toward tentative solutions rather than blame and recalcitrance. Feeling the spark of change, Alex turned to Sarah with a grin. I think we're onto something. We're just getting started, Captain, she replied, a twinkle in her eye. The two of them shared a glance, a silent agreement that this was only the opening act of something greater. As the meeting continued, Alex and Vela exchanged more light-hearted banter, the atmosphere warming. For the first time in 2 centuries, the possibility of peace no longer felt like a distant star, it was beginning to feel tangible. With that spark of hope igniting the room, Alex felt something shift within himself as well. Perhaps a light-hearted approach wasn't just a tactic, it could be the foundation of something far more profound. Chapter 2, Underneath the Stars. With the negotiations finally making headway that evening, the atmosphere aboard the Unity felt lighter, as if a thick fog had begun to lift. Alex Kerr found himself wandering through the lush biosphere of the ship, a designated space meant to mimic Earth's natural environments. Glowing plants illuminated the pathways, throwing a mosaic of colors onto the walls. Captain, Sarah called, jogging to catch up with him. Where are you headed? Just exploring. Thought I'd clear my head after all that. Energy in the meeting, Alex replied, glancing around at the vibrant flora. What about you? Thought I'd stretch my legs a bit. That room felt like a pressure cooker. As they walked deeper into the biosphere, the ambient sounds of rustling leaves and softly chirping alien critters created a serene backdrop. Still, Alex felt a nagging thought. Do you think we really made any progress? He asked. I think your jokes helped. I've never seen Valtrax's delegates actually smile before. She chuckled. Makes me wonder what else they're hiding. Maybe a love for terrible puns? Alex mused, and they both laughed. Ugh, please don't encourage more of that, Sarah said, playfully rolling her eyes. But really, it could be the start of something. Suddenly, they rounded a bend and found Vela sitting on a verdant patch of luminescent grass, her scales reflecting the bioluminescent light. She was skimming her fingers over a small patch of plants that seemed to react to her touch, blooming in vibrant hues. Captain? Sarah nudged him. Do you think we should? Let's see what she's doing, Alex decided, stepping forward, intrigued. Hello, Ambassador, he said, keeping his voice warm. Vela looked up, her eyes glimmering like stars. Captain. Lieutenant. Join me, these plants are quite captivating. What are they? Sarah asked, kneeling beside her. Genetic marvels of my species, Vela replied, gesturing toward the plants. They respond to emotional frequencies. A demonstration of our connection to nature just as you have with your planet. That's incredible. Alex offered. They can sense how you feel? Indeed. Watch. Vela concentrated and the plants began to shimmer as if basking in her energy. Fascinating. So they're empathic? Alex suggested. Precisely. Vela smiled, enjoying their engagement. You humans have much to learn about our ways and we about yours. Sharing such wonders can bridge our gaps even further. Or make some interesting decorations for a gala, Sarah quipped, making Alex chuckle again. Perhaps we could collaborate on a shared event, a cultural exchange, Vela proposed, her eyes sparkling with mischief. Now that's an idea, Alex agreed. We could have speakers share stories of our histories, along with some humor to lighten things. Humor again? Vela raised an eyebrow playfully. You truly believe it can mend the rift? I do, he insisted. Laughter can ease stubborn hearts. Vela cocked her head, intrigued. Then let me teach you about Valtrax's humor. A friend once told me a riddle, a puzzle of sorts. Sure. Let's hear it, Sarah encouraged, leaning closer. What is strong enough to move mountains, yet gentle enough to nestle a flower without harm? Vela asked, her expression serious. Is it love? Alex ventured, unsure. Too sentimental. Vela chirped, shaking her head. It is curiosity. It drives us to seek, to learn, to connect. Not bad, Sarah said, nodding. I like that. Great riddle. Alex exclaimed. Okay, your turn. What do you think a good human riddle would be? Let's see, he thought hard for a moment. What has keys but can't open locks? An intriguing question, Vela mused, tilting her head. Do tell. A piano, he proclaimed, unable to contain his laughter. Vela responded with a slow laugh that rolled like honey. Humor travels far, doesn't it? Absolutely, Alex said, grinning. The ease of the moment brought a comfortable sense of relief. Tell me, Captain, Vela began, her tone turning more contemplative. What do you hope for between our two peoples? More than just the absence of war, he replied, his voice sincere. I want understanding, collaboration, and growth. We may be different, but we can learn from one another. Exactly, Sarah added, the light of camaraderie in her eyes. Everyone deserves compassion and respect. It's all about finding connections. Vela nodded. Compassion is key to growth. One may compare it to these plants. She gestured at the glowing flora. Just as they flourish when nurtured, so can relationships thrive with care and understanding. Great analogy, Alex responded thoughtfully. We'll grow this piece together. They spent the next hour exchanging more lighthearted questions and riddles. Laughter filled the air as the initial wall of formality crumbled further. As night deepened outside the biosphere, Vela turned to Alex, her expression softening. You humans possess a lightness of spirit I find admirable. Thank you, he said, feeling warmth spread through him. But that lightness is often masked by years of conflict. It's refreshing to share this connection with you. For every story of war, there can be one of friendship, Vela replied, her eyes locking onto his. You're right, Sarah chimed in. And sometimes the friendship can arise in the most unexpected forms. Like a joke. Vela asked teasingly, her expression brightening once more. Exactly. A joke that can turn an entire negotiation around. They shared another laugh, but this time, the rooted connection felt deeper. Would you be willing, Vela began hesitantly, to continue building this bond? To explore more of each other's worlds? I'd love to, Alex said earnestly. The more we understand each other, the stronger our foundation becomes. Then let us plan this cultural exchange, Vela proposed, excitement glimmering in her eyes. A celebration of our diversity, a sharing of experiences. Count us in. Sarah agreed enthusiastically. We'll craft something unique and memorable. As the trio continued discussing plans for the upcoming event, they felt the lingering weight of the past being replaced by the prospect of a shared future. Underneath the stars, amidst the shimmering plants, laughter and friendship began to weave a new narrative, one that could redefine their worlds, not as enemies but as allies. Together, they could rewrite history. Chapter 3, A Bond Beyond Words. In the days that followed, the initiatives for a cultural exchange began to take shape aboard the Unity. The bioluminescent flora and gentle sounds of the biosphere formed a vibrant backdrop for their meetings. Alex, Vela, and Sarah worked tirelessly to brainstorm ideas, the air filled with laughter and excitement. One afternoon, Alex found himself pacing back and forth in the conference room, a makeshift stage set up for their first collaborative gathering. Okay, let's recap, he said, flipping through a holographic tablet filled with notes. We need activities that can showcase both human and Valtrax cultures. Humor games, Sarah suggested, grinning. We could have a segment where we exchange jokes and see which culture can make the other laugh first. Sounds fun. Humor unifies, Vela responded, her eyes sparkling. But what about showcasing our artistic expressions? Music, dance, things that capture emotions. I love that idea, Alex said, nodding. We could have a talent show where delegates can perform. And cooking. Sarah jumped in. Both our cultures have rich culinary traditions. We could set up a combined cooking demonstration. Food is an excellent medium for sharing cultures, Vela added thoughtfully. It is both intimate and universal. But how do we make sure nobody gets offended? Alex asked, looking genuinely concerned. I don't want to accidentally insult anyone's traditions. Leave it to me. Sarah exclaimed. I'll make sure to vet every dish to avoid any mishaps. Let's also provide context for our respective performances, Vela suggested. Perhaps a brief explanation of the significance behind our music and art? Perfect. Alex agreed, energized by the direction the event was taking. We'll create a framework that promotes understanding while keeping it entertaining. Alex looked at Sarah and Vela, recognizing the shared excitement in their expressions. We're doing this. You both realize that, right? Indeed, Vela affirmed, her tone a mix of pride and thrill. Let us show our people that we can share joy, not just conflict. As they delved deeper into planning, Alex noticed how often his gaze would drift to Vela. There was a unique energy between them, an unspoken understanding that transcended their differing cultures. Later that evening, as preparations continued, Sarah suggested they take a break. Let's step outside for a minute. Fresh air might be good. Without hesitation, Vela led the way, her graceful movements mesmerizing under the glowing plants. They stepped out into the soft glow of the biosphere, surrounded by luminescent foliage that pulsed like breathing organisms. Quite the sight, isn't it? Sarah remarked, scanning the surroundings. It is, Alex replied, feeling a sense of calm wash over him. Almost like another planet. Vela knelt to touch a flowering plant gently. These bloom only when they feel a presence of peace. Kind of like a reminder of our purpose, Alex commented, thoughtfully looking at Vela. Abruptly, Sarah broke in, so what's the plan for the comedic segment? Do we prepare punchlines or just wing it? Both, Alex suggested, grinning. A mix of planned jokes and spontaneous humor. We keep them on their toes. Let's practice. Vela encouraged, standing tall. I would like to try one. Go for it. Sarah cheered. Why did the Valtrax invite the human to a meeting? Vela said, her eyes twinkling. Because they wanted to negotiate terms for an actual conversation. Good one. Alex burst out laughing. Okay, you're in. Now it's your turn, Captain, Vela challenged, crossing her arms in a playful stance. All right, here goes. What is the favorite pastime of humans during negotiations? Again, enlighten me. Vela replied, eager. Making a case for puns, he declared, unable to stifle his own giggle. Bravo. Sarah clapped, impressed. This could work. They spent the next hour practicing jokes, sharing stories, and building camaraderie. Laughter became their ally, paving the way for deeper connections. As the evening wore on, Alex noticed how Vela often looked at him with a combination of respect and curiosity. The ease with which they shared laughter created a space of closeness he hadn't anticipated. Vela, he began cautiously, what do you really hope this cultural exchange can achieve? I hope it can untangle centuries of miscommunication, she replied, her tone sincere. Let my people see that humans are not just beings of war, but of joy, creativity, and compassion. I think you're onto something there, Sarah chimed in. If we can show our similarities while embracing our differences, we might just create a new narrative, a story worth telling for generations. Exactly. Alex leaned in, energized. Stories that highlight our victories over conflict, that emphasize laughter instead of sorrow. Vela gazed at him with a glimmer of aspiration. Then let us create a story together, one that generations of Valtrax and humans will talk about with smiles rather than disdain. For a moment, the three of them stood together in silence, each lost in thought about the monumental task ahead, yet buoyed by the strength they found in unity. Do you think it would be too much to bring our families into this? Alex asked hesitantly. I mean, it could foster even more understanding. That's a fantastic idea. Sarah replied eagerly. Let's offer them the chance to share their customs too. I could introduce them to my family's traditional Valtrax cuisine, Vela responded with enthusiasm. Innovations could arise and bonds will deepen if we include those we hold dear. Let's make it a grand gathering, Alex said, feeling excitement bubble within him. An opportunity for cultures to intertwine in a celebration of our differences. They shared ideas late into the night, enhancing the growing sense of community among them. Plans shifted into shapes that felt real, the essence of collaborative spirit emerging alive and vibrant. As they wrapped up the evening, Vela gazed at Alex, a hint of intimacy lingering in the air. I never thought a partnership could evolve so quickly based on laughter and goodwill. Perhaps, like those blooming plants, he replied, locking eyes with her. We've only begun to flourish. Their connection was undeniable now, a mutual respect and friendship forming in the light of shared experiences. Sarah, catching the moment, grinned knowingly. What we started here. As they departed the biosphere, both Alex and Vela felt a sense of shared purpose and adventure, one driven by the promise of new beginnings painted vibrant against the backdrop of a shared sky. Together, they were starting to write not just a new chapter of relations but an entirely new story where both humanity and the Valtrax could thrive side by side. Chapter 4, The Turning Tide. The day of the cultural exchange arrived and the atmosphere aboard the Unity was electric with anticipation. Alex Kerr stood by the main entrance of the biosphere, adjusting his uniform and mentally preparing for the unfolding events. He glanced at Sarah, who was busy arranging the stage for their performances. Are you ready for this? Alex asked, a mix of excitement and nerves coiling in his stomach. Ready as I'll ever be, Sarah replied, straightening a table adorned with various human and Valtrax culinary delights. I just hope we don't accidentally offend anyone with our food choices. Relax, I'm sure you've got everything covered, he reassured her. If we play it smart, it'll be all right. As the doors swung open, Alex spotted Vela entering, her iridescent scales shimmering like jewels under the ambient lights. She walked with grace, her presence commanding the attention of everyone in the room. Captain Kerr, she greeted, her voice carrying a warm undertone, are we prepared? More than ever, Alex replied, offering her a confident smile that belied his trepidation. Then let this be the beginning of our new narrative, she said, echoing his earlier sentiments. As delegates from both sides began to fill the space, Alex felt the weight of history looming around them. A mix of humans and Valtrax shared curious glances, exchanging smiles filled with cautious optimism. All right, everyone. Sarah called, bringing the gathering to attention. Welcome to our first cultural exchange. We hope this will be the start of many such events. The room erupted into light applause, cutting through the initial awkward tension. Alex watched as Vela stepped up to the stage, her confidence drawing everyone's attention. Greetings, esteemed friends, she began, her voice resonating. Today, we embark on a journey to transcend boundaries and share our cultures filled with laughter, art, and shared experiences. Let's kick things off with some of our performances. Sarah exclaimed, pointing toward the stage. I'll go first. As she stepped up, she began a spirited recounting of a popular folktale from Earth, punctuated by enthusiastic expressions and gestures. The audience watched intently, laughter mingling with admiration. That's a great start. Alex whispered to Vela, who was leaning closer, visibly intrigued. Indeed, she replied, eyes glimmering. She holds their attention well. After Sarah's story, it was time for the Valtrax to share their own entertainment. One of the Valtrax delegates, a tall figure with deep emerald scales, approached the stage. With a melodic hum, he initiated a traditional Valtrax harmony, his voice weaving in and out like silk. I didn't know they had such incredible vocal abilities, Alex murmured, captivated by the hauntingly beautiful tones that filled the room. It is one of our proudest traditions, Vela explained. Our music is often a representation of our emotional landscapes. Once the musical performance ended, the audience erupted into applause, cheers echoing through the biosphere. Wow, that was amazing, Sarah exclaimed, her eyes wide. Should we go for a food demonstration next? Absolutely, Alex agreed, nodding at Vela. Shall I accompany you? Vela offered. Two cultures in the kitchen make for an interesting dynamic. Let's do it, Sarah beamed. As they set up their cooking area, the audience began to gather around, eager to partake in the culinary experience. Alex and Vela stood side by side at a workstation, each charged with preparing a dish representative of their culture. Okay, I'll be making a classic Earth-style pasta dish, Alex announced. And what about you, Vela? I will create a Valtrax delicacy called Zelruthu, she said, her expression filled with pride. It's often served during celebrations. Sounds delicious. Let's start, Sarah encouraged, and they began their culinary dance. As they cooked, Vela explained the ingredients and history of her dish, emphasizing the cultural significance behind each element. Alex listened attentively, occasionally sharing quips about his own dish. Did you know that pasta has been around for centuries? He said, stirring his sauce. It's a staple back on Earth, and everyone has their own way of making it. What a marvelous concept, Vela replied, impressed. In that case, let me add a pinch of Valtrax twist to your pasta. I'm all for it. Alex laughed, handing her a small container of spice. As they combined their culinary crafts, the audience began to engage, asking questions, offering suggestions, and even participating in the cooking processes. It was a lively scene, with laughter and curiosity filling the air. Throughout the demonstration, Alex and Vela exchanged glances filled with camaraderie. There was something special about working together, blending their worlds, and creating something beautiful. This is going better than I could have imagined, Alex said, his eyes sparkling. I agree, Vela replied, her expression warm. Your people are kinder than I had heard. And your people are more graceful than our histories gave them credit for, Alex said, his tone playful. Maybe we both have some misconceptions to clear up. Indeed, Vela said, her smile radiant. Perhaps we can create a few more of these events and continue healing. Definitely. We should keep this momentum going, Alex exclaimed as the dishes began to come together. Finally, as they plated the finished products, the audience eagerly waited for their chance to taste. All right, let's do the big reveal, Alex announced, lifting the lids with Vela alongside him. Zelruthu and human pasta, everyone. Vela called out, her voice bright. Cheers erupted, and they began serving samples to the attendees, who tasted each dish with an air of excitement and curiosity. How does it taste? Sarah asked a nearby Valtrax delegate, lunging for another portion. Remarkable. The flavors are unlike anything I've had, he replied, his enthusiasm contagious. Alex felt a sense of pride swell. Beneath the laughter and clattering dishes, a strong bond began to take root. The cultural exchange was not just a celebration, it was the beginning of friendship. Once the cooking demonstration concluded, Alex stood with Vela, watching as laughter filled the atmosphere around them. Today was remarkable, he admitted, before adding with a smirk, I'd say our partnership is starting to cook up something special. Indeed, Vela replied, her eyes gleaming. Perhaps we should explore other avenues, dance, art, or storytelling next? I'm game, he said confidently. And I'll even incorporate a joke into the storytelling segment. Vela laughed, the sound wrapping around them like a cozy blanket. I look forward to it. Just don't make them too human-centric. Deal, he agreed, feeling a warmth swell between them. With the event winding down, Alex turned his thoughts toward the future. The potential for collaboration had already begun reshaping their narratives. It was not just about ending centuries of conflict, it was about celebrating the nuances that made both cultures beautifully unique. As the evening progressed, Alex and Vela exchanged more ideas, their conversations flowing easily, powering through discussions that brought them even closer. The exchange felt like a new beginning, not just for them but for the entirety of their peoples. And as day faded into night, they knew they had taken significant steps toward forging a friendship that would stand the test of time, built on laughter, creativity, and shared aspirations. Chapter 5, A New Dawn. The morning after the cultural exchange event was filled with a sense of accomplishment. As Alex Kerr strolled through the biosphere, he couldn't shake the feeling that something monumental had shifted. The laughter, the shared stories, and the food had woven a fabric of connection that had been absent for far too long. Captain, Sarah called as she walked towards him, her hair slightly tousled, clearly still energized from the previous day's events. Did you sleep at all? Not really, Alex admitted, chuckling. I couldn't help but replay everything in my mind. It all just clicked. Right? Sarah grinned, her enthusiasm infectious. I think we really broke some barriers. The Valtrax delegates left with smiles. Did you notice that? Yeah, Alex replied, noting how the entire atmosphere had shifted. For the first time, I felt like we weren't just participants in a meeting, we were building something. Speaking of building, Sarah said, glancing toward the far end of the biosphere where Vela approached, her presence commanding attention. Looks like someone wants to talk to you. Perfect timing. Alex called out as Vela drew closer. Good morning, Ambassador. Good morning, Captain, Vela said, her scales shimmering in the morning light. I must say, yesterday was invigorating. Thank you for all your efforts. We couldn't have done it without your contributions, Vela, Alex replied warmly. You brought energy that ignited the whole event. Energy that I hope continues to flare up, she replied, her gaze steady. Shall we discuss what comes next? Absolutely, Alex said, feeling a rush of excitement. I've been thinking we should build on what we started. A regular series of exchanges could transform our relationship. Yes, Sarah interjected. Let's keep the momentum going. Maybe even add more cultural elements like dance or art workshops. A great idea, Lieutenant, Vela agreed, her eyes lighting up. I can introduce our Valtrax dance styles to your people and they can teach us as well. Can't wait to learn. Alex said with a laugh. I've got 2 left feet, though. Vela smiled slyly. We may need to make space for a larger audience when you attempt Valtrax dance. Okay, he retorted playfully, just make sure to bring a medic. Hey, how about a joint performance? Sarah suggested. It would be a grand way to illustrate our collaboration. A remarkable concept, Vela nodded, intrigued by the idea. An event that embodies our culture's strengths would resonate deeply. Exactly. Alex beamed, feeling a surge of possibilities. It can be an opportunity to showcase how our differences can create harmony. As they explored ideas, they began identifying art forms and stories from both cultures that could showcase their journey. The energy in the room grew contagious and the visions became clearer. We could each create a performance around our history, but with a twist, Sarah proposed. It would highlight how we're not defined by conflict but by creativity. What if we intertwine our narratives? Vela suggested, her eyes glowing with passion. Blend the tales within art, music, and dance. Our people can witness both our stories colliding in celebration. Alex nodded, feeling the gravity of her proposition. That could communicate a shared devotion to peace. Let's get started then. Sarah urged as they began jotting down more concrete plans. We could host a storytelling night next, everyone enjoys tales. Agreed, Alex concurred. We'll finalize the details for an artistic showcase. It'll be something our peoples will remember. As the trio brainstormed, their laughter and shared ideas rang through the biosphere, rich with potential. They worked tirelessly, sketching outlines on glowing holographic screens, drafting roles, and delegating tasks. Vela, can we have a day to prepare? Sarah asked, glancing at the schedule. Let's ensure everyone is aligned. Take as much time as you need, Vela replied. Perfection takes time, after all. True, Alex added. Besides, we'll use the lead-up to build relationships with the other delegates. Let them know what to expect. Exactly. Sarah agreed. We need them involved from the ground up. As they continued their planning, Vela leaned closer to Alex, her curiosity palpable. Tell me, Captain, what does art mean to you? Art? Alex pondered, gazing around the vibrant environment. It's an expression that connects emotions, thoughts, and experiences. It bridges worlds. Precisely, Vela said, her tone enriching. In Valtrak's culture, art is a conduit for understanding. It unites us in shared ideologies. Alex smiled, feeling grateful for the exchange of ideas. Then let's ensure that our performances showcase that unity, that bond we're forming. Absolutely. We can plan our narratives around personal stories that illustrate growth, Sarah chimed in, energized by their conversations. Personal stories resonate profoundly, especially when laced with humor, Alex added. Remember our jokes? They can be thoughtfully woven into our performances. Indeed. They might lighten the more serious aspects, Vela agreed, an amused glint evident in her eyes. Humor can be a gentle guide through truth. I like that, Alex remarked, feeling the connection between them deepen. Laughter is definitely a common thread. The hours turned into an exhilarating blend of brainstorming, laughter, and idea development. As the sun began to set, their collaborative spirit filled the biosphere, creating an atmosphere that felt charged with purpose. We could do this forever, Alex said, unable to suppress a smile as they wrapped up for the day. Just imagine how far we could go with more exchanges. Indeed, Vela replied, her expression contemplative. It might lead to even greater understandings. I think it will, Sarah added enthusiastically, checking the plans one last time. Who could have thought that a simple joke could change the course of history for us? It's the little things, Alex replied. Those connections we make can lead to monumental shifts. Vela looked at Alex, a light dancing in her eyes. Shall we venture beyond these walls sometime soon? Explore the new Earth and Valtrak's landscapes together? I'd love that. Alex replied instantly, excitement bubbling within him. Experiencing art firsthand could drive our creativity to new heights. Count me in too. Sarah chimed in. Exploring our worlds will help us share those experiences more deeply. The three of them stepped outside, the temperature cool in contrast to the vibrant light of the biosphere. As they strolled through the passages, a genuine bond blossomed, developing into a relationship that moved beyond duty and diplomacy. Together, they imagined a future where cultures intertwined, creativity flourished, and laughter healed old wounds. With newfound clarity, the sun set behind them, hinting at the promise of a new chapter ahead, built on the collaborations and friendships they had begun to forge.